Our Foundationalization Process. Chapter 4. The only source of knowledge is experience. Albert Einstein. 1. Advanced parents are responsible for the foundation of our humanity. Long before we were born into a body upon this earth, we were brought into existence as free-willed, separate individuals by advanced human beings. These highly developed humans, whom we can appropriately call our first parents or creators, organized an essence for each of us out of the elements that have existed in the universe forever. This essence was void of any pre-programming or remembered experience. As explained previously, it is a perpetual memory disk of infinite capacity. This is important to understand because the most significant part in becoming a human being is the foundation of the very first experiences recorded in the essence. Our first parents, quote-unquote, formatted our essences to become human beings by providing an environment where universal standards of humanity would be the first thing we recorded as our individual memories. These first experiences set the balance, or better, became the quote-unquote measuring stick with which we would compare all of our future experiences. These primordial experiences established our human conscience and provided a foundationalized alignment that will keep us in balance for the rest of our experience. The process of aligning a newly created essence can best be described as the human foundationalization process. Through this process, the particular way each individual determines and experiences happiness, the reason why we exist, is established. It creates our humanity and allows us to become free-willed human beings and makes us unique from all other life forms in the universe. 2. We were first created with a perfect brain. When we were first created, our essence was placed in a perfect human body with a fully functioning human brain. Advanced parents know exactly what constitutes the perfect human body. With the knowledge and power they possess, they created the ideal human biological form in which to place the newly created essence. While in the imperfect bodies we have upon this earth, we only use a very limited part of our mortal brain. When we were first created, though, we used every part of our primordial brain. We did not require sleep or rest, and all of our experiences were recorded in a fully conscious state. Because we existed in a continual, fully conscious state of mind, we were able to utilize our perfect brain to its full capacity. In contrast, when our essence enters the imperfect bodies we currently have, it, the essence, becomes our subconscious. Our imperfect brain has only limited access to the essence. Our current need for sleep and rest and the continual influences of life stresses and expectations inhibit our brain's ability to function to its full capacity. In addition, our imperfect brain is not constructed the same as a perfect human brain, nor was it intended to do what a perfect human brain can do. 3. Perfect bodies provide opportunity for experience. The essence must be placed in a physical body that can see, hear, feel, smell, and taste in order for it to record the experiences provided by our sensory receptors. Our first, primordial, body was perfect and allowed us to develop in a perfect human world where our creators/parents lived. Once these perfect experiences are recorded, all of our future experiences will be measured by or compared to these foundational ones. If the experience of the present aligns with the foundationalized experience of the past, we will sense what is recognized as calmness, comfort, and balance. For example, when a newly created human in a perfect body first tastes a perfectly grown and engineered apple, the sensation produced by the stimulus of the taste buds will be forever recorded in the essence. The first sensation of taste is now permanently programmed in the essence and becomes a part of who the person is and will always be. The other sensations associated with the experience, such as when the person first sees the apple, feels it, smells it, and hears it crunch between their teeth, are likewise recorded. Every other apple that the person will eat will be compared to the level of quality set by the first. No other apple of the same type, and there are many, many, many different varieties, will ever taste, feel, smell, or sound better to the person unless the experience of eating it matches the first experience perfectly. The same foundationalization process occurs with each new experience the person has. The process of foundationalization is similar to what modern psychologists describe as quote-unquote imprinting, where a person goes through a phase of learning that is independent of the consequences of behavior. This process includes everything that the new human sees, hears, feels, smells, and tastes. It also includes the experience of association, where the individual sees another person, hears their voice, smells their distinctive smell, feels their touch, or feels the energy of their presence or thoughts in some cases, and creates an experience with them. These stored memories will always be associated with each individual with whom the newly created human comes in contact. This quote-unquote association also occurs with everything else, plant, animal, or element, in the developing human's surrounding environment. Each new experience will be permanently associated with something that was seen, heard, smelled, felt, or tasted during the foundationalization period. As to taste, newborn, mortal, imperfect infants instinctively put everything that they see, touch, hear, and smell into their mouth. They subconsciously are making a comparison to their foundationalized experiences by using all 5 of their senses. Likewise, when we become adults, we kiss each other on the mouth as our first taste of the person to whom we are physically attracted after we have seen, heard, touched, and smelled them. All of our physical senses are utilized so as to confirm compatibility with and enjoy the experience of physically bonding to another. Another example of our uniquely human foundationalized essence, when compared to other life forms, is our use of the sense of smell in evaluating breath. We are the only species that seems to have a problem with the bad breath of one of our own species. Although at times we ignore it, nothing is more unpleasant than kissing someone with bad breath. It offends our established sense of smell. It creates imbalance from our previous experience with advanced human beings. This is because just as newborn babies have the freshest and most delightful breath, so did the advanced human beings around whom we first established our sense of smell. 4. Our perception of beauty was foundationalized. The primordial foundational process also set the standards of beauty that will stay with us throughout our eternal existence. Every advanced human being is a very beautiful person. They each possess the ability to choose for themselves what their physical body looks like. Although each is individually unique, each is also the quintessential example of human beauty. Therefore, when a newly created primordial human first opens its eyes and sees the people surrounding it, the standard of what a human being should look like is permanently established within the essence. Rest assured that there are no uncontrollable, powerful, quote-unquote monster-like, big-headed, or green creatures with tentacles anywhere in the universe that are going to one day take over or destroy the human race. Having an established measure of all that is beautiful confirms this. The ultimate and most advanced life form in the universe is a beautiful human being. Even as the most beautiful examples of the human body are part of our first experiences, so are the most pristine and picturesque environments possible in the natural world. The perfectly beautiful mountains, plains, rivers, lakes, oceans, forests, and jungles of our primordial environment add to our foundational alignment of natural beauty and far surpass our present imperfect environment, even in its most glorious splendor. In our primordial, perfect world, our advanced creators had the knowledge and capability of creating the most exquisite architecture ever imagined. Once we experienced its magnificence and beauty, our own unique sense of architectural style and design was established. As a result, our mortal ability to recognize symmetry of lines and forms now allows us to build buildings and construct engineering marvels through the use of our imagination and reason. Likewise, our sense of rhythm, synchronicity, tempo, and timing, all established during our foundationalization, enables us to recognize the soothing melody of the sounds of both the natural world and the music we create by using our imagination and reason. 5. Humanity is a learned behavior. In the primordial world, along with the values, measures, we uniquely determine for ourselves based on everything we see, hear, taste, smell, and touch. We also establish our first perceptions and cognitive paradigms, thinking experiences or patterns. A quote-unquote paradigm is best described as a very clear or typical example or archetype. Quote-unquote cognitive means conscious intellectual activity. Therefore, the first quote-unquote cognitive paradigms, perfect examples in our consciousness, that are established during the foundationalization process of our essence are responsible for creating our humanity. They set the alignment for the way in which we interact with other people in our environment and with everything else that exists outside of ourselves. For example, the uniquely human emotion of compassion was foundationalized in us through our first experiences. No other organism in the universe shows the same type of sympathetic consciousness of all others' distress, along with the desire to alleviate it, as humans do. Not only do we show this emotion towards each other, but we also demonstrate it in our concern for all other animals and plants, and for every other aspect of our natural environment. In fact, we have the capability to feel as compassionate about a polluted ocean as we do about a sick neighbor. Granted, there are animals that demonstrate a propensity for sympathy, but not in the same way as humans. As explained in the last chapter, an animal's essence can be programmed to instinctually do whatever the advanced human being who created the animal wants it to do. If an advanced human wants a dolphin, for example, to show an instinctual compassion for anything that is being subjected to a shark attack, then the programming for such instinct will be provided in the dolphin's essence. But the dolphin does not have a choice of whether to react or not. It does so instinctually. Humans, on the other hand, can choose to be compassionate or not. Our ability to sense equality, justice, peace, and joy is also directly related to the recorded memories of the experiences we had around advanced humans who exemplified the perfect human beings. These beings expressed all of the positive emotions associated with humanity by sensing, using all of our sensory receptors, their example. Our individual humanity was foundationalized. This quote-unquote humanity was the principal catalyst to ensure that we would use our free will for our own personal benefit without impeding the free will of another to exercise theirs for their own personal benefit. 6. Happiness is a comparative balance between our essence and our current experience. Our advanced creators/parents smiled when we did something no other being had ever done in quite the same manner. They laughed at our actions when our free will motivated us to act and react to our environment in totally unexpected ways. They chuckled when we exercised our free will and our actions failed to meet expected and reasonable outcomes. Their positive encouragement allowed each of us to develop unique personalities. They did not tell us who we should become. They guided the imprinting of our characteristics so that we could make our own choices. Their guidance during our foundationalization process ensured that all other humans were protected from our actions and guaranteed their right to become who they wanted to become. In other words, they did not allow us or provide us with any opportunity to think that another's choice of individuality was any better or worse than our own. They established the basis for unconditional human equality. Just as we enjoy observing the funny things that mortal infants and small children do as they learn to use their physical body in our world, advanced beings receive similar pleasure watching us grow and learn. Because we are not pre-programmed to act or to be acted upon, we have the infinite capability of surprising even the most advanced parent, even one who has witnessed an immeasurable number of new human beings grow and develop. Our advanced parents taught us how to smile. They taught us how to laugh. They taught us how to experience happiness. As happiness is the reason why we exist, it follows that our existence is based on our ability to feel happy, and it is the responsibility of our creators/parents to ensure that we fulfill the purpose of our human creation and experience continual and lasting happiness forever. Quote-unquote happiness is simply feeling a sense of conformity. It exists naturally when the actions of our free will are in line with the first experiences we recorded as primordial human beings. When we use our free will to act or react to the stimulus of our current environment, our actions are automatically, subconsciously, compared with what is recorded on our essence. When the comparison is not consistent with what is foundationalized in our essence, the resulting feelings of imbalance in our life are those that we associate with unhappiness. As explained above, the proper alignment of our primordial experiences establishes our humanity. Throughout our existence, the foundationalization we received will ensure peace and order all through the universe, which exists for and is controlled by advanced, free-willed human beings. To allow us to act on our own, but ensure this peace and order, when we do something that makes us unhappy, we are naturally motivated to try to change the course of our actions so that we feel happy again. Therefore, our foundationalized experiences act as a quote-unquote inner gauge, or an emotional meter of sorts, warning us when we are not acting as a free-willed human being was foundationalized to act. 7. Feelings are based on our memory of experience. We develop quote-unquote feelings, including the feelings of happiness and unhappiness, based on our recorded experiences. A quote-unquote feeling is the way our consciousness attempts to figure out whether or not what we are experiencing is in balance with what we have stored in our essence. When we are around someone who looks suspicious, for example, we can get a quote-unquote feeling that something isn't right, as if the person doesn't fit into our expectations of what a quote-unquote trustworthy person should be. We make the judgment based on what we can remember, which is generally only what we have been taught since our mortal birth. This is because our imperfect brain cannot consciously recall experiences recorded in our essence. Although no prejudices or judgments of others were part of our primordial foundationalization in our imperfect world, they become the imperfect foundation of our current reality. Our true humanity is altered here upon this earth, and we often treat others inhumanely, contrary to how we were reared on a perfect world. If, for example, we have always heard since our mortal birth that dark people cause problems, when we see a person with dark skin, our conscious mind creates a feeling of imbalance. If, however, we had the ability to immediately remember all of the experiences stored in our essence, we might discover that we ourselves were once dark-skinned in a previous life, or that we once had a good friend, or even lived around an advanced creator/parent who was. This would then eliminate any feeling of suspicion or prejudice. Although our initial quote-unquote feeling might be negative toward another person while existing in this imperfect world, if we used our reason, which again is our ability to determine what is real and what is not, we could conclude, in the example used above, that we should not judge a person merely by the color of their skin. To live in true reality and create the peace and order intended for the human race, we must temper our feelings with our ability to reason. Current scientific understanding defines a quote-unquote feeling as a chemical reaction that starts in the brain and causes the body to respond. But if this were the case, then out of the millions of other animal species upon the earth, one surely would have developed a somewhat similar array of feelings to those which human beings exhibit. None has, because none has a human essence inside of its body, providing it with a guide on how it should feel. Being happy is a human feeling. Smiling and laughter are human responses to the feeling of happiness. We have already explained why humans smile and laugh and other animals do not. Our feelings are distinctively human because of the energy exchange between our human essence and our brain, an exchange that animals do not experience. All other human feelings, positive or negative, are produced exactly the same way that quote-unquote happiness is produced, through these exchanges. The only difference between a negative emotion and a positive one is the way our body responds to each. These quote-unquote emotions, though not considered a physical part of us, are more powerful than might be supposed. They can greatly affect the physical state of our body, causing sickness, disease, and even death. Many cases have been documented where a close partner dies, leaving the surviving one emotionally affected. The surviving partner soon dies from no known physical reason. Emotions are just as physical as every other aspect of our existence. Just as it takes energy emissions from our brain to move our muscles, emotions are likewise emissions from our brain of the exact same energy. When our human essence was foundationalized, it reacted with a perfect and fully functional brain that did not allow what we know as negative quote-unquote feelings. A negative feeling causes an imbalance in our body, whereas a positive feeling causes balance in our body. Whenever something occurs in our current experience that is not part of our human foundation, our imperfect brain responds by producing levels of energy, chemical reactions, that are not balanced with the levels of energy stored in our essence. When our body produces these energies, we feel what can best be described as quote-unquote stress, which leads to anxiety, tension, and discomfort. It could be stated that positive feelings create high energy and negative feelings create low energy. Thus, the free-willed human has some control over their environment in order to create the balance that is felt as quote-unquote peace and happiness. When we were being quote-unquote foundationalized, our body was perfect and literally made to be part of our essence, just as our essence was made to be part of our perfect body. Either way, there were no negative or positive forces involved in the union. The essence and the perfect body were one. Being one, everything we experienced with our positively charged body was perfectly recorded on our positively charged essence, with little expenditure of energy. Because our imperfect brain cannot connect with all of our past memories, our mind is subconsciously trying to place itself in balance with a memory of an experience that caused us to feel happiness. Using the example from above, prejudiced parents seem, in the child's eyes, to be happy when their children distrust dark-skinned people. Therefore, when the child sees a dark-skinned person, the first positive memory that comes to his or her mind is that of doing what made the parents happy. Our current life experience upon this earth is full of negative quote-unquote feelings because of the prejudices and inhumane examples of others, especially the parents responsible for our imperfect foundationalization. Until we can remember all of our multiple lives experiences, including our extensive life in a perfect body, we will always be susceptible to negative feelings and the stress they cause to our bodies. 8. Emotions are the way we express our feelings. An emotion is not the actual feeling. Emotions are the way we express our feelings. One person might be more emotional than another, even if both are experiencing the exact same feeling. Using the example from above, even if two people have been taught the same prejudice concerning dark-skinned people, one might react completely opposite of the other to the feeling of quote-unquote suspicion. Emotions, or the way that we express our feelings, have all to do with the mortal body we have been given. Unique genetic patterns can determine different levels of emotional balance and produce a wide range of varied emotional expressions. Some people cry to express negative emotions, while others cry to express positive ones. Negative emotions offset the naturally balanced state of our body, whereas positive emotions support the body and enhance its capacity to function. The essence has nothing whatsoever to do with our emotions. Only our physical body can determine how we express our feelings. For this reason, having a perfect human body is the only way we will ever be able to completely eliminate negative emotions. In addition, because we were not provided with a perfect body while on this earth, it was not intended for us to be continually happy. We were meant to experience unhappiness. 9. We had to learn how to smile. In our primordial stage of human development, we had no negative feelings to express as emotions. This is because in a perfect world, nothing was out of balance. The life and environment provided by our first perfect parents allowed for only positive, quote-unquote, feelings to be instilled in our essence. Quote-unquote, negativity is produced only when the energy levels we expend in our actions and thoughts do not align with our foundationalized ones. Our advanced parents taught us by their example how to express our feelings. They taught us proper emotions. However, because we had nothing to compare them to, we did not understand why. For example, our advanced parents laughed and smiled. We only knew that they did. We mimicked what they did. We learned that it was an expression of positive feelings, the only feelings we understood. Without prior learning or previous experience with expressing emotions, though, it was impossible for us to express inappropriate or negative emotions. Our creators taught us how to smile, which is the physical demonstration of balance or contentment. The quote-unquote smile is distinctly human and is not found anywhere else in any other life form. A genuine and sincere smile is a universal and unmistakable sign of balance and comfort. When we are comfortable with an experience, or when the experience fits into our subconsciously established quote-unquote comfort zone, we demonstrate the effect by smiling. We learn this from observing perfect parents smiling at us as we began to respond and react to our perfect environment in their world. When we smile in our imperfect world, we create an energy pattern, or better, an experience that matches what is recorded in our essence and makes us feel happy. 10. Parents play the most important role in the human foundationalization process. As humans advance and become experienced with different societies and cultures in which they associate with each other, they recognize the effect that proper parenting has on the emotional outcome of a new human being. A child who is reared in an environment of fear, insecurity, inequality, abuse, or ignorance, or who in any other way is trained contrary to what a productive and contributory member of a society should be, can cause many problems as an adult. The way a child is reared by those with whom it has contact with for the first foundational years of its life is paramount to its ability to fit in with and feel a sense of personal balance around the rest of humanity. Our imperfect experiences as mortals with many failed human societies have confirmed that being a parent is not a right that should be granted to everyone. 11. It is a privilege to be a parent. Even the most successful of the less advanced modern human cultures upon this earth have determined that it is necessary for their citizens to obtain permission for many of the privileges that people are allowed to have. To drive, for example, one must have a license. To do any specialized task that can affect the whole of society, individuals must prove themselves capable of performing the task without producing a result that could potentially harm society. One must have permission to gain the privilege of being a doctor, for example. One is required to obtain a license in order to participate in the construction trades, thus ensuring the building of safe structures. Modern cultures have determined that permission from the majority must be granted for almost every aspect of human interaction wherein the actions of one have the potential of affecting the life experience of another. Ironically, however, none of our current modern civilizations has determined the need to issue special permission to an individual to produce another human being. One does not need any particular training, understanding, or ability to become a parent and provide the care and nurturing necessary to a new member of the human race. Although childhood experiences can be linked to almost every problem affecting the security and balance of a successful society, no government has figured out the necessity of making sure a parent has the ability to rear a child properly. For this very reason, all societies upon this earth have failed. But once the effect of improper parenting finally takes its toll on even the most modern human cultures, humans will begin to realize the importance of proper parenting. The determination will then be made that parenting must be regulated, and only those individuals with the proven capability of proper parenting will be granted permission to do so. No matter how much food is available, no matter how much specialized education one has, no matter what kind of opportunities are afforded to a human being, if one receives faulty or insufficient training during one's foundational years, that individual has the potential of negatively affecting the rest of society during his or her adult years. Although contrary to the ways imperfect human societies operate upon this earth, it is vital to the peace and order of the entire universe that, ultimately, no free-willed being is allowed the ability to create other beings unless found capable of and competent enough to do it correctly. 12. Advanced parents must follow strict guidelines to raise children. Through their own extensive experience, advanced parents have already learned the proper way to rear children. They acquired a lot of experience during the different stages of their own human development and concluded for themselves that being a parent was what would bring them the most happiness. Those who choose to provide and be responsible for the foundational experiences of new human beings are well versed and experienced in the proper way children need to be reared, so they, the children, can become integral and productive members of a perfect human society. Because human beings have always existed throughout the universe, there have always been strict laws and instructions established to ensure continual order. The instructions on how to rear a newly created child have also always been, and must be followed precisely. It can be said that these instructions, the quote-unquote recipe for all life, including plants and animals, are contained in an eternal quote-unquote book of life that all humans must use and follow if they are allowed to be responsible for the creation of life. There is a governance structure set up that ensures that all established eternal laws are followed as they have always been. The universe is assured that a newly created human being will receive the proper foundationalization and be taught the proper way to interact and behave with other humans. Thus, only those whom the universal government allows will have the power and knowledge to create and foundationalize humans. This is consistent with the laws of the universe. These creators/parents must first desire the responsibility and then prove to the rest of us that they will fulfill their obligation correctly. They prove this by the way they use their free will. Becoming a parent and having parental responsibilities is not how most of us would like to spend the rest of our eternity. An advanced creator's/parent's personal freedom is restricted in a similar manner to the restrictions placed on mortal parents who are required to provide for the physical and emotional needs of the children they produce. It takes self-discipline and personal sacrifice to follow the strict guidelines that have been established for foundationalization parenting. 13. Advanced parents make a choice to have children. During our foundationalization as humans, we are free to choose what guidelines and laws we wish to follow. But because we are foundationalized in a perfect human society, we learn, without any contrasting experience, to agree with and support the established guidelines, after eventually going through the different stages of our development, especially the stage we are presently going through on this earth. We will come to the conclusion that the society in which we received our primordial foundation is indeed the perfect human society. We will then choose to follow the guidelines and laws of that society. While going through these different stages of our human development, we will learn that improper parenting creates the problems associated with the aberrant behavior that is counterproductive to the peace and happiness that should exist in a human society. Through our own experience, we will learn that the government, laws, and instructions contained in this universal quote-unquote book of life on how to rear a human being are indeed the only formula that will maintain continual peace and order as it has always existed. Because of the strict requirements of advanced parenthood, no one is forced to be such a parent. Some choose the responsibility, most do not. 14. We develop our free will and common sense in a perfect world. Although a child in an advanced, perfect world can be trained to think, act, and react to its environment, there is a noticeable difference between free-willed children and restricted children who are not allowed to develop free will. The former are allowed to roam free and experience different aspects of their individual liberty by interacting in various environments. The latter are isolated in a strict, enclosed environment of learning. Those who are uninhibited in the choices available to them develop a sense of free will that allows them to individualize and become quite different from their parents. On the other hand, those who are secluded from different choices and given a structured environment in which only specific and specialized instructions are provided never establish a sense of free will and become exactly as their parents expect them to be. In specific terms, the quote-unquote son raised in this particular environment becomes exactly like the quote-unquote father. In our imperfect world, children often rebel against their parents and society because they are not allowed to experience a life consistent with the experiences recorded in their essence, which allowed uninhibited free will. It is seen as quote-unquote rebellion only because the action doesn't fulfill the expectations of the imperfect parent and society. Advanced children, however, could not quote-unquote rebel because they had no other experience recorded in their essence that would motivate them to act a certain way. Furthermore, advanced, perfect parents and societies didn't place the same restrictions on free will as imperfect parents and societies do. Therefore, there was no such thing as quote-unquote rebellion there. Quote-unquote rebellion is a state of our mortal, imperfect body which is in constant opposition to our essence-empowered desire to exercise our free will. In advanced societies, newly created children are provided an open environment, which allows each of them to grow and develop a sense of individualism and free will. The few exceptions to this are those few children intended to become a quote-unquote public servant or quote-unquote government overseer, a specialized human who oversees what all other free-willed beings do in a particular solar system and who does not develop with this sense of free will. An animal adapts to its environment based on the instinctual behavior provided for it by its pre-programming. Conversely, a human child freely uses its environment to produce its own distinctive behaviors and instincts and records these as new experiences. It is easy to predict how an animal will respond to its environment. Because of this predictability, most animals can be easily trained to adapt to almost any environment in which they are placed. A human being, on the other hand, expects to change the environment to adapt to what the person expects from it. These expectations come from the human's ability to imagine and reason, which we have already properly defined as the ability to think about an experience until it makes sense. We also refer to this as quote-unquote common sense. It is a general sense of conformity to what our past experience has already reasoned is best for us. The human foundationalization process establishes our common sense regarding what is humane and what is not. 15. Advanced mothers are responsible for our bodies and foundationalization. The parent who is responsible for determining what the physical body is going to look like, what color of skin, hair, eyes, etc., in which the essence is placed, is the female mother. Because she is the one responsible for ensuring that the child is foundationalized correctly, she retains the right to choose her children's appearance. The mother provides the materials and environment in which the body is created and prepared for the newly created, i.e. blank, essence. Although this process takes place inside the mother's womb on our current imperfect world, the advanced mother with greater knowledge and superior powers and abilities is not required to go through the pain and stress of childbirth. The process in an advanced human world allows a mother to program the exact DNA patterns, for want of a better term, that will create the body she desires for her child. The number of children that a mother creates is her choice, generally, because the process of foundationalization is so important, a mother will only rear one child at a time. These advanced mothers know when a newly created human has had quote-unquote enough experience, at which point it then needs less attention and care. The mother will ensure that the child has been properly foundationalized before creating another one. During this time, a strong bond is created between the mother and the newly created child. And until she is sure that this everlasting bond is formed, the mother will concentrate on one child at a time. This bonding period is similar to the way a mother on this earth might wait 2 or 3 years before having another child. In advanced worlds, where there is no concept of time, this bonding period could last for thousands of years, if necessary. 16. Our initial bond with our mother is vital to our human development. Our advanced mothers have bodies with breasts that carry a quote-unquote milk-like substance that becomes the first taste experience for the child. Though this quote-unquote mother's milk has no nutritional value for a perfect body that does not require any outside nutrition, the experience of breastfeeding enhances the bonding period. Advanced mothers breastfeed without the pain sometimes associated with it in mortality. Human bonding is an emotional result of our relationships with each other. Each of us developed our first bond with our own first mother, much the same way an infant in this world creates a bond with its mortal mother. These intimate moments will forever solidify a personal bond between mother and child. This bond also adds to the reasons why an advanced human desires to be a parent mother for personal enjoyment. In addition to this emotional bond, we also have a physical bond with our mothers. This is because each individual mother was involved in the creation of our first physical bodies and copied some of her own quote-unquote DNA patterns into each of our unique bodies. Our mothers created each of our bodies to look uniquely different from the rest of our siblings. This was not so that they could tell us apart, but to help other human beings value our uniqueness. Even if we all looked the same, our mothers could tell us apart because their advanced senses would always recognize the differences. When each primordial mother copied her own quote-unquote DNA patterns into the makeup of each child's body, she allowed energy patterns to transfer that were part of her own and therefore easily recognizable by the power of her essence. When our cells perform their functions, they give off energy patterns unique to the specific action each performs. Each of our bodies as a whole also has an energy pattern that is unique to the individual. These energy patterns are physically tied to our mother's own body. If a mortal mother had an advanced mother's brain, she would be able to quote-unquote tune in to each of the children to whom she has passed on some of her own quote-unquote DNA patterns, even in this imperfect world. Although this effect is currently experienced at times between a mortal mother and child, it is not as readily available to the conscious mind of an imperfect brain as it is to an advanced mother's brain. The role of the advanced female is the most vital and important part of the foundationalization process. Although advanced males play an important role later on in the developmental stage of a human being, without the principal role of the mother, human life throughout the universe would not succeed. The main reason why there are so few advanced males involved in the production and foundationalization process of new human beings is because they are not needed. On this earth, the purpose of the much stronger male is for the protection and support of the female and her offspring. In a perfect world, women do not need to be supported or protected. Advanced women have all the powers and abilities of any advanced male. 17. Advanced fatherhood is achieved without sex. Once the perfect body is created and has reached the size of a normal infant, which only takes a few moments, the essence is prepared to be introduced into it. The advanced humans who gather the required matter and know how to create an essence are best described as advanced fathers. Advanced procreation follows similar patterns to the natural patterns on Earth. Although the imperfect woman's body is programmed to only produce one child at a time, except in the abnormal anomaly of multiple births, an imperfect male can father many children with many different women at the same time. Likewise, in advanced societies, it takes only one advanced male to create many essences for the mothers who have created bodies for their children. The biggest difference, however, is that the entire procreation process is done asexually. No advanced human in the future, male or female, will have physical sex in order to produce a child. With the powers and knowledge possessed by advanced creators/parents, sex will become obsolete for the purpose of producing the perfect human being, although not obsolete for its enjoyment to those advanced human beings who will possess sex organs. Sex, as we know it in an imperfect world, is not an instrument for advanced procreation in a perfect world for two main reasons. First, procreating asexually removes any chance of an unintended imperfection in what the mother wants the body to look like. She is solely responsible for the production of the physical body. Second, polygamous relationships in the procreation of children by one male having sex with multiple females would cause the human emotions of lust, jealousy, and inequality. This would also result in all the problems that arise from emotions associated with the imperfect human notion of quote-unquote love. Advanced human societies have learned to live appropriately so as to eliminate anything that causes stressful negative emotions. Those choosing to become parents responsible for continuing the human race will be able to experience the physical, emotional, and intimate enjoyment of the sexual experience, but they will not have any of the negative emotions currently associated with our natural desire to have sex. The imperfect emotion of quote-unquote love is a comparative value that we place on something or someone when compared to something or someone else less desirable. This comparison does not exist in a perfect world where all people are treated equally and everything provides the ultimate human experience. 18. Our foundationalization is carried out on an isolated planet. As mentioned previously, a child is greatly affected by its first experiences in life. It was also mentioned that advanced societies have determined that it takes special training and understanding to make sure that all newly created human beings have the right environment provided for them during the time they are recording their first experiences. Advanced quote-unquote parents isolate themselves from the rest of humanity so that they can fulfill the responsibility to foundationalize their children correctly, which includes concentrating entirely on parenting each child properly. These parents have distinct planets upon which they can utilize isolated environments to foundationalize their children. All of the children and their mothers reside on these parenting planets, but are not isolated from each other nor separated into family units. The whole parenting society is one big, communal, happy family. You've undoubtedly heard the statement, quote, "It takes a village to raise a child," unquote. Well, it's true. Although there is a unique bond created between each mother and each of her children, the absence and division of what we currently call the quote-unquote family unit aids in the proper foundationalization process of equality and free will. There should be no question now as to who and what is responsible for the majority of the inequality and misery found in the imperfect world. It is the imperfect parenting and the value imperfect humans place on their own family unit above any other human beings in the world. If we only realize that we are all part of a universal family and are all siblings of other advanced humans, our society would transform overnight. While it is impossible in this life for any of us to be a true parent, we can rest assured that those advanced humans who are promote and ensure universal human equality in all things. 19. Different planets for rearing children. In advanced societies, there are two main classifications of quote-unquote parenting groups. One group consists entirely of women who have determined for themselves that rearing children from infancy to adulthood brings them the most joy in their existence. The other group is made up of male and female couples. To best describe these two types of parental groups, it is necessary to envision them as they existed in our past when we were first created, and how those of us who choose to be responsible for children will exist as advanced parents in the future. As mentioned above, to rear a perfectly balanced child, the parent and child must be isolated from the rest of the human race, or from those who want nothing to do with parenting, so that the child can be foundationalized without other distractions. The way that advanced parents rear their children does not create a very interesting or desirable environment for those who choose not to be parents. Therefore, other planets exist that allow a more desirable situation for non-parental adults. Using our current solar system as an example, there are basically 9 main planets. In the future, these planets will become habitable. Those of us who inhabit this particular solar system will live upon one of the planets, based on our personal desires of happiness and wanting to be around others who share similar interests. 20. Mercury, the planet for male/female couples. Mercury, using the names of our known planets only as examples, as the names of each does not matter, will become a planet upon which will live those humans who desire to live together as a couple, one male and one female. The purpose for this partnership will be expounded upon later. For now, it should be understood that males create other solar systems and oversee different stages of human development. They do not want to work alone. They desire a companion. With their female companion's help, these fathers produce children who are not allowed free will, but are instead reared to become quote-unquote sons who will become the quote-unquote public servants/overseers of each new solar system. These couples will reap the benefit of their choice to serve others in becoming parents by sharing a sexual relationship. Their individual DNA patterns will be adjusted so that each partner is only capable of being attracted to the other. In this way, it becomes impossible for either partner to experience the challenges and distractions that can be associated with monogamy in an imperfect world, jealousy, lust, etc. All other advanced beings of the opposite sex will have the same appeal to the advanced male and female as the non-sexual attraction between modern-day brothers and sisters. 21. Venus will be the planet for females. Venus will become the planet upon which live only women who desire to be mothers and who do not cater to the needs of anyone, including men, except their children. These women are the principal progenitors of the next batch of newly created humans. Although children are not created through the act of sex, these women retain the ability to enjoy sex by sharing the experience with other women, or from self-manipulation. As many modern-day women will attest, few sexual experiences match those that are created by other women. And although many will try to deny it, less advanced, imperfect males are very comfortable with two women enjoying sex together. In fact, most find it enticing to their own sexual nature. This is a reasonably natural response when one takes into account the experiences that are recorded in our essences, which were foundationalized around women who lived together and associated sexually with each other or by themselves. Because we had no sense of sexuality during our foundationalization period, we did not equate the relationships between our mothers as anything but the natural way of how things were. Although we never saw our mothers engaging in the act of sex, we saw the love and tenderness they demonstrated toward each other in our presence. These quote-unquote Venus women do not associate sexually with the quote-unquote fathers who live in the partnerships mentioned above as being on the planet Mercury. These women are completely self-sufficient and have the power to create anything and everything for themselves and their children on this world without the help of a quote-unquote male. As mentioned and as will be discussed later in greater detail, a significant role of the male is to create new solar systems for these women's children and to oversee the second stage of their children's development. Upon this earth, we are currently in the second stage of our development. Other civilizations found throughout the universe are also experiencing their second stage. Still others exist in the first stage of human development, known as our primordial foundationalization, or in the third stage, where they permanently reside on advanced planets. No matter in what stage of development humans are found throughout the universe, though, all of us were foundationalized on what are best termed as parenting planets, similar to Mercury and Venus, which are found in all parts of the universe where human creation takes place. 22. Earth will be the planet for servants. Our Earth will eventually accommodate those who will be the quote-unquote working servants of everyone else. Earth will become the quote-unquote servants' quarters, for want of a better term, for all of those humans who have the knowledge and the power, and most importantly, the desire to serve the needs of other human beings. These advanced humans in servitude will have no gender because they will choose not to be involved in the creation of life. Their primary responsibility will be to work with the parents and ensure that the purpose for which humans are created is fulfilled. Because they will have all the knowledge and powers of advanced creators, except the ability to enjoy sexuality, they will be a great support to the fathers and mothers, who are ultimately responsible for their children's happiness. They will be the fathers and mothers' servants, and consequently the servants of the entire human race. Their home planet, Earth, will be a base from which they are assigned and given instructions on their various missions for each new batch of children in each new solar system. When a new solar system is created, they will work under the direction of the quote-unquote father and the quote-unquote public servant / overseer of that solar system. In relation to our solar system, once our planets have become quote-unquote advanced, these servants will serve the needs of those of us who do not desire to become parents. Some of these types of human beings are also actively involved with us while going through our imperfect mortal stage of development. Again, always under the direction of the male father or quote-unquote overseer of this solar system. According to our current understanding and some generally accepted but often erroneous beliefs, this type of human being could be called an advanced, nomadic, genderless, enlightened life form. Angel for short. 23. The planets of each solar system serve individual needs. Most of us want to be left alone to pursue our own desires of happiness. We want to serve ourselves, establish our own environment, and create our own plants and animals according to our own needs and wants. The planets of Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn will provide all the space needed for the majority of us who wish to serve ourselves. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, however, will be inhabited by those of us who have no desire to serve ourselves and want servants doing everything for us. Those of us on these planets will love the idea that all of our needs will be provided for without any effort on our part, except to enjoy all the experiences that advanced life has to offer. The advanced human, the male/father, who was responsible for creating each of our essences and our solar system, counseled with our mothers to find out what our needs would be so that each of us could experience ultimate happiness in our own way. Our mothers knew what our desires of happiness were and would be, because they reared us and watched us grow, as well as having an emotional bond with each of us. Our mothers, therefore, counseled with our quote-unquote father, who then created the precise number of planets, each exact in size, to accommodate every single one of our personal preferences. Because we existed for eons of time and experienced all there is to being a perfect advanced human being, our foundationalization process established and solidified who we are. We became who we will always be in this perfect primordial world. Because we will not change our desires of happiness, our solar system has a precise number of planets with predetermined sizes to fit our needs perfectly. 24. 3 main stages of human development. There are basically 3 stages of our human development. The first stage, our primordial foundational existence upon the planet of our creators. Second stage, our mortality upon this present earth. Third stage, our final residence upon one of the planets in our own solar system. We can describe ourselves, which will also describe our final state of existence, the third stage, as each belonging to one of 3 main categories, or quote-unquote humanity types. 1. Those who want to serve others. 2. Those who want to serve themselves. And 3. Those who want to be served. In planning our solar system for the batch of children we all belong to, our quote-unquote father created 3 different sets of planets to accommodate each category, which, for the want of a better word, we can call quote-unquote estates. The 3 main estates each have 3 quote-unquote sub-estates, for a total of 9 main planets. Although 3 of the planets, Mercury, Venus, and Earth, exist solely for the purpose of creating and serving the human race and ensuring each person's individual happiness, there will be another planet created and assigned as the quote-unquote governing body of our solar system. This 10th planet will be the place where the one who is anointed to oversee the government of our solar system will reside. 25. Gender is a choice, not a mandate. During the first stage of our development, every primordial human body that is produced to house a blank essence, is genetically constructed to be genderless, without the ability to have children and without sex organs. No newly created body has the innate hormonal desire to create its own kind. Therefore, none has a sex drive. The DNA patterns of an advanced human child do not allow for gender or any type of sexual nature. The person first must have enough experience without gender to determine whether or not they want to be a parent. We make the determination of whether or not to be a parent long before we go through our second stage of development upon this earth. However, our mortality here allows us the opportunity, through multiple earth lives, to confirm and solidify this decision by having the temporary ability to experience sex and the responsibility of parenthood. During our second stage of development on the earth, most of us will experience lives both as a male and as a female. We have these differing gender experiences so that we will be convinced that neither gender fits our desire of happiness for those of us who did not choose to become parents, or which gender we enjoy the most for those of us who will become parents. In general, because the experiences of both genders are recorded in our essence, there is a possibility, for example, that we might obtain a male body in one of our lives upon this earth that allows us to be physically attracted to other males. This occurs because we use our reason to find a consistent balance between the energy of our essence, our latent memories, and our current experience. This is the case for those who are homosexual. There is no abnormal or unnatural attraction that occurs between homosexuals. In fact, they are usually more quote-unquote in tune with the power of their essence than imperfect heterosexuals are. Their brains allow them to make a stronger and more direct connection to the memories stored in their essence, causing them to feel a balance when they have a current experience that matches a past experience. A man, therefore, who does not have this kind of quote-unquote direct connection with his essence will not easily remember that in one of his past lives he lived as a woman. The man or woman who has the stronger, more direct connection will be more affected by the energy of the past experience stored in the essence, thus causing his or her physical body to react more spontaneously to what makes it feel comfortable. Because of this more direct connection with their essence, homosexuals by nature are generally more compassionate, kind, nurturing, and tender than those humans who have no such connection. They are more connected to true humanity than those whose essence has little effect on their imperfect brain. 26. Sexuality adds to the problems of humanity. There is no doubt that our sexual natures cause the majority of our problems. Psychologists who have long studied human nature and its associated dilemmas often agree that there is an underlying sexual aspect to almost all of our psychological and emotional issues. To avoid these negative aspects of our emotional awareness, there are no sexual functions or desires given to newly created primordial human beings. This is important to ensure the necessity that our first experiences do not include any negativity that would set a precedent for later actions. If, for example, the desire to satisfy a sexual appetite became a part of our foundational experience, we would then crave to satiate the sexual longing during mortality and, in our third stage of human development, in order to maintain conformity with our subconscious, regardless of the problems associated with it. It is also necessary that our experiences in our permanent third stage of human development do not include such negativity. Our sexuality will be explained in greater detail later as we discuss our life here upon this earth during our second stage of development. Here it is important to understand that our sexuality has nothing to do with our pre-earth experience and is not part of our essential recognition of happiness. It is purely a functional aspect of the physical body we currently have upon this earth. In the situation of mortality on the earth in which we currently find ourselves, we often battle the sexual desires of our body, attempting to subdue them to correlate with our humane belief that these desires should be controlled. As is logically concluded, in an imperfect world, sexual abilities are necessary to perpetuate life. Here on earth, the organs of the body associated with sex perform the way they do for no other purpose than to create life. Although there are emotional benefits felt by humans in experiencing sex, the fact still remains that the purpose for the physical act is to create another human being. In a perfect world, if one does not have the desire to create life, that person does not need the body parts necessary to do so. The sex organs and the feelings that they produce are part of the process of perpetuating life. Therefore, in advanced, perfect worlds, they are not necessary or available to those who do not want to be parents. As reasonable as this might seem to our common sense, the fact that we enjoy the ability to have sex, which is now enhanced by our current technology to do so without creating life, leaves us wondering why all humans shouldn't retain the ability to experience sex forever. Why shouldn't it be part of human nature to enjoy sex simply for the sake of the enjoyment alone? Although we would like to argue this point, later it will be shown why the laws of the universe mandate that having sex as advanced human beings must be limited to those who have determined to be advanced parents. Regardless of whether we are genderless or have the ability to enjoy sex, in the end, all of us will be completely happy and content with the type of human each of us has chosen for ourselves, for we had the choice from the beginning. Summary: all life forms in the universe, with one exception, are programmed and specialized to do something that contributes to the environment in which they live. Their environment determines the way that they exist and if and when they are needed for the sake of the environment. If they do not perform the function for which they exist, they become extinct. Some of this quote-unquote programming is instinctual according to the makeup of the body, and some is learned as the organism adapts to its environment. In this way, the universe retains its extraordinary beauty, order, and balance. These life forms exist for the universe. There is one life form, however, that exclusively controls its environment, making changes to its surroundings according to its own personal desires. This life form does not adapt to its environment, but has the power to force its environment to adapt to it. Its dominion can destroy its environment if its personal desires are not being met. It is the only organism in the universe that has not been programmed to react to its environment. Instead, this life form has the power and free will to act upon it. The universe exists for this life form. This specialized life form is the human being. The universe provides the most advanced planets with the most complex and sophisticated technologies available to ensure that the human being has the ability to experience the most fulfilling existence possible. The needs of the people residing on advanced planets are provided for freely and equally. Nature The term used to describe all other living and non-living things works in its perfected state upon these advanced planets. Trees and plants bear the most succulent and delectable fruit ever tasted or imagined by human beings. In these advanced societies, new human beings are being created continuously. These newly created life forms are given the same power and free will over their environment that their creators enjoy. Each new human being establishes the unique propensities of humanity in these advanced worlds that are without need, without sorrow, and without negativity. Worlds where everyone is treated and respected equally. It is in this type of world where our first experiences were recorded in our essence. From these first experiences, we measure and judge every future experience we will ever have. This is how we develop and maintain our unique ability to reason. All we are doing in our current experience upon this earth is trying to figure out how to reproduce the feelings of balance that we recorded during our primordial foundational life. We can succeed in this quest, however, only by relying on our common sense, that innate part of our human reason that we use to seek balance until things make sense. Our common sense was established in our essence during our foundationalization. Our ability to imagine and reason, which is associated with our pursuit of and longing for happiness, is simply our conscious mind trying to find a way to make us feel comfortable with our current environment. Our common sense is the quote-unquote measure of our imagination and reason. If an action we are considering, quote-unquote, makes sense to us, we do it. Unlike other organisms that have no ability to reason and which react and adapt to their surroundings, we find ways to change the environment so that it reacts and adapts to us until it fulfills our desire for happiness. It is within us where we find our individual happiness, the measure of which was established through a perfect human foundationalization process. The responsibility of our advanced human creators/parents was to ensure that we had the appropriate environment where the proper human conscience, our common sense, could be foundationalized. The way that they lived and interacted with each other and with us gave us an example of how we should treat others and expect to be treated by others throughout our existence as human beings. During our first experiences, we stored memories in our essence of all that we saw, smelled, heard, tasted, and touched. Because everything that we experienced in a perfect world produced the ultimate, perfected outcome of all things, we established a sense of what we will forever recognize as beautiful, fragrant, soothing, satisfying, and pleasant. Our basis for what we will always recognize as happiness was established upon these advanced planets, as we bonded and engaged with our perfect mothers. All advanced people are the most beautiful specimens of human form and beauty. There are no nauseous weeds that irritate us, or any insects or other animals that bite us, scare us, or make us feel uncomfortable. The animals that do exist in these perfect environments interact with us as playfully and gently as a newborn puppy. They are pre-programmed instinctually to be the best animal companions a human being could possibly desire. Only in this perfect environment could we become free-willed beings. It was as wonderful there as we can possibly imagine it to be, and it is only possible to imagine it because we once experienced it. The human mind cannot imagine or conceive something it has not yet experienced. Life in our imperfect world creates unhappiness through the experiences that are inconsistent with the ones we recorded upon our essence during our foundationalization in a perfect world. None of us likes to be told what to do. We want to do what we want to do. When one takes authority over us and demands something of us that we don't agree with, we feel quote unquote unhappy. This feeling arises because doing what we really don't want to do is not how we were foundationalized. The advanced creator/parent never told us what to do, who we should become, or how we should interact with our environment. There are absolutely no expectations in a perfect world. We were allowed to experience anything we wanted. There, we interacted with our environment and created new experiences that would eventually make us a separate and unique individual apart from all other human beings. However, because there is nothing except human perfection in an advanced world, we only had the opportunity to record perfect experiences. During this perfected human foundationalization process, because we only experienced everything that was good about being human, our personal experience did not allow us to know the difference, for example, between quote unquote good and quote unquote bad. Nothing we experienced in our primordial, advanced world allowed us to make a comparative value. Consequently, neither did we really know quote unquote happiness. All we knew was how things were in our present reality there. We didn't even realize that things were perfect. Our creators/parents consequently made possible an imperfect world, the one in which we presently exist, to help us learn to appreciate who we are and why we exist.